AITA for leaving a dinner party after a girl sat on my husband's lap? The author of the post is listed in the description. I am still so shook with everything, so sorry for my rambling. My husband, Jake, and I have been married for 3 years, and from the beginning he was very close with his best friend's sister, Cindy, 18F. Well, my husband would often talk about her and tell how he had seen her grow up throughout the years. Cindy is always very bubbly and seems very fond of Jake as well. I remember when we were dating, she would ask to come along on our dates a lot. I never really said anything as I liked spending time with her as well. She was like a little sister to me. When we announced our engagement, she asked to my husband to better not forget her after being a married man and to still hang out with her. Well, we got married and I even made her my bridesmaid. Soon we moved to a different state and kind of lost contact. Now Jake's best friend came to stay with us for some time and Cindy came along as well. Now the moment she saw us, the first thing she said was how hot my husband has gotten, and she was glad he didn't look like those boring married men. Then throughout their stay, Cindy would just ignore my presence and will be way too close with Jake. I told Jake that it was looking a bit inappropriate and to ask Cindy to tone it down, but he said that Cindy is just a bit childish and is that way with everybody. Well, at their last day, we decided to host a dinner party for everybody. During the party, I was with Jake when Cindy came and told me, "Oh, I need to steal your husband for a while." And before I could say something, she grabbed Jake's hand and took him for playing games. I ignored it since it was their last day, but then throughout the dinner, she was getting way too close with Jake and would just drag him away whenever I would be around while giggling at me. When everybody sat for dinner, I sat beside Jake and Cindy came last. She then said, "Oh, there is no seat," and then just went and sat on my husband's lap. Everybody was surprised, and Jake said, laughing, "Cindy, stop acting like a kid. You are not a kid anymore." Cindy started laughing, saying it was a joke, and got up and sat on other seat while giggling at me. Yeah, I was so angry with the disrespect and with the fact that Jake was so cool with it. But I didn't want to say anything bad, so I excused myself, took my car, and went out. About 1 HR later, Jake called me asking where I was. I told him I'm going to my friend's house and I will come after Cindy has left. I know what I did was terrible, but I was so angry at that time that if I had stayed there any longer, I would have probably started fighting or crying. I came the next day and Cindy and her family had left. Jake was very pissed and said I took things too far. I started crying and told him how everything made me feel. He said I was horrible to think such things about Cindy and that she was like his sitter. I told him that I was not doubting his intentions, but I was hurt by how disrespectful Cindy's behavior was, and he was enabling her by not saying anything. He started saying that I sound ridiculous and couldn't even take a joke, referring to the sitting on lap incident. I said regardless, I don't want her in my house again. To top it off, Cindy sent a message saying that she was sorry about making me so insecure in myself, and that she would make sure to make me feel better. But I should not have left as it was pretty childish and kind of spoilt the mood. It felt so backhanded, I didn't reply anything to her. I just told my husband he needs to maintain a distance with Cindy. He asked if I was giving him an ultimatum. I said if he will go as far as disregard and disrespect my feelings for Cindy. This really rubbed my husband the wrong way, and he said since I have such disgusting thoughts in my mind and is giving him an ultimatum anyways, then he might as well leave, because he cannot leave with such an insecure person who has such disgusting thoughts about him. He packed a bag and left to his mother's place. I have tried apologizing numerous times, telling how sorry I am for everything, but he is ignoring my texts and calls. Later, Cindy's brother texted me and called me a bunch of names to think like that about his sister, saying Jake should just leave me and a disgusting person like me deserves to be alone. I could not stop crying after that. IDK, how to fix this? Is there a way to even come back? Was I so wrong to deserve this? IDK anymore? Update. Thank you all for responding and people who gave me good advices in personal messages. I couldn't read all the comments, but now I know my feelings are valid and boundaries were crossed by Cindy. Now during the dinner there was Cindy, her brother Sean and his GF, and their cousin Derek, also a good friend of my husband, with his BF. So I called Derek and asked about the situation and what happened after I left. He was sympathetic and said that after I left at first, they thought I would come back after some time, however things were really awkward. But when I didn't come, Sean's GF told Cindy that she was so disrespectful for doing that. Derek and his BF also said the same thing. To this, Cindy started crying, saying they didn't have to corner her and attack her over a silly joke, that she didn't know it would get so out of hand. She then left the room while crying. Jake didn't know what to say, and everybody left early the next day. Derek also told that Cindy has always had issues with boundaries, and when he introduced his BF to everybody, Cindy would get too close and would joke that she was just checking if he was really gay. They were really uncomfortable with it as well, so Derek confronted her, to which Cindy rolled her eyes and said, "They can't take a joke," and eventually stopped. This all sounds so bizarre. IDK, what's going on with Cindy? Sean's GF also texted me saying she was sorry for what happened. I told him how Sean's message was inappropriate, but she had no idea about the text, so I sent her a screenshot and asked her to tell Sean to not harass me again. She was very apologetic and said she would talk to him. Now my Mill called and asked what was going on, as Jake didn't tell her and only said we had an argument. I was a bit hesitant to tell, but eventually told everything. She was furious at my husband. She said they will be coming to have a talk, so yeah, I am just waiting for them to arrive and really nervous. IDKE if what I did was right or wrong, but we will see. As for people saying my husband is some pedo or they are having an affair, I know this is furthest from the truth. I never questioned his intentions, but what hurt me was the lack of respect from Cindy towards me. Comments before update. Commenter, NTA. Your only mistake was apologizing to your husband as if his accusations were fair. Commenter, agree. She had nothing to apologize for. Now her apology justifies their actions as making it seem like they did nothing wrong. But she did, since she is apologizing. I would go as far as taking back the apology. Commenter, NTA. Your husband should care about making you uncomfortable. You pointed out it was inappropriate. He blew it off up, and to the point she sat in his lap, and even he has to say something. Not because he was upset, but because everyone was looking. He is disregarding his own encouragement of the behavior and gaslighting you to try and make it a you problem. He is a married man who is letting a young woman sit in his lap and intentionally disrespect his wife. You don't have a problem with Cindy, you have a problem with your husband. This level of disrespect to one's spouse is unacceptable. Commenter. Yeah, as someone 5 years into a marriage, there are only two people I really give a shit about, myself and my wife. There is no situation anymore that I care about making some friends, co-workers, etc. feel awkward or uncomfortable instead of my wife. These posts always seem crazy when someone blows up at their spouse over, "You made my friend's sibling feel weird." Like, how could you possibly care about that over the feelings of the person you spend 99% of your life with? Update. 3 days later, for people who are still asking me about the update in private massages. So my Mill came with my husband, and, well, the talk happened. There were a lot of things, but I will try to summarize. Basically, Jake apologized to me first and tried to explain his POV. He said that he was angry because A, I left without saying anything for the whole night, when he was literally trying to just diffuse the situation and tried to laugh it off because it was so awkward he didn't know what else to do. But instead of communicating, I just left him in that weird situation. He was meeting his friends after such a long time and just wanted the dinner to be peaceful, and Cindy was going back anyways, and we would most likely never meet her again. B. He acknowledged Cindy was indeed overstepping boundaries, but he didn't know how to bring it up since he has literally seen her growing up, and she is like a little sister to him. Also, she acts like that with everyone. He thought that it was just for a few days and he wanted no drama during their stay, so he would just brush it off. He did acknowledge he was wrong about not saying anything. He was already really worried and sad because how I just left with no explanations. Even after I came, not once I asked how he felt. He was also very overwhelmed with everything and felt I was accusing him for not doing anything when he literally pushed her off as politely as possible when she tried to sit. He felt I was attacking his character and even gave the ultimatum, which made him so sad as he felt if I thought that less of him. It wasn't about Cindy, but about how easy it was for me to question his sincerity. He said after that dinner he was going to go extremely LC with her anyways. D. He apologized for not speaking up about the disrespect Cindy was showing towards me and for also leaving like that. Then after Jake said everything, Mill explained Jake about the situation from her perspective. She scolded him a lot as well. In short, she told him that as a husband, it was his responsibility to make me feel like I am his priority. and that he disappointed me the moment I had to come to him to ask for establishing boundaries. As a husband, it was his duty that I never would have to come to him about this in the first place. She also asked him how he would have felt had it been a guy on my lap, and he had no answer to it. She told him how what I did was an eruption of suppressed feelings, and as a husband, it was his duty to go after me and never let me leave in the first place. There were a lot of things said by her, and Jake seemed to realize and sincerely apologized for his actions. She told him if he ever pulled such stunt ever again, then to not expect her to take him in. Later, she took me for a walk. It was just the two of us, and there she explained some things to me as well. She said that she is sorry for everything, but told that even at her house, Jake was distraught. He didn't tell her because he most likely knew he was wrong too, but was overwhelmed about everything as well. She said she in no way excusing her son's behavior, but would hope that I would forgive him. She also said that in no circumstances I need to leave my house, as it was my house and my family. She said I shouldn't be afraid in speaking my mind if anything makes me uncomfortable, and to talk to her if Jake does something stupid again, and she will set him straight. She hoped we work it out since she has seen our love for each other, and it would be sad to see us split up due to some disrespectful brat, her words. She said she cannot have a say in our issues, but suggested that we should get counseling to understand each other better. She even bought ice cream for me. I know it's a bit childish, but she said sweet things work as a charm when people are upset, and well, she was right. Well, it was awkward at night. Jake came to our room and we didn't know what to say. After a while, we talked and both apologized to each other. However, I did tell that I was angry at him to tell everything to Sean and was deeply hurt by the text he sent me. He said he didn't know what I was talking about, and I showed him the texts. He said he didn't tell Sean about our fight, and only told him that he was at Mom's place. He called Sean, and well, it turns out Sean told Cindy and told her how she went too far at the party. Then Cindy made a huge sob story about how I was passive-aggressive with her the whole time, how I would always try to question her character and act insecure and jealous. She even went on to say that I was always like that with her, even when she was a kid, and that I never liked her and always tried to manipulate people into thinking I was an angel while she was a sawlat. Well, that made him angry to think how I have been treating Cindy, and he sent those texts. Jake and I were baffled by such accusations, and he tried to explain Sean how it wasn't true, but then Jake just let it be and decided to go no contact with Cindy and extremely LC with Sean. Jake apologized again, and we just cuddled and slept. Well, Cindy is out of our lives for good now, and we have decided to go counseling for better communication in future. Let's see how everything goes in future, but yeah, we are not getting divorced. I know a lot of you people wanted me to show Jake this post, but he was so sad and got scolded a lot already, so I decided to not show him for now. Maybe in future. Sorry for all this rambling. Have a good day, people. Edit. I read people saying we should be NC with Sean, too, and I felt that it would be best to let that friendship go as well. So I talked to my husband about it, and he agreed. So he sent a text to Sean stating we could not be friends with him and then blocked him as well. To clarify, I have somewhat forgiven Jake for his actions, but I told him he needs to rebuild the trust I had, so I know I can rely on him in situations like that. He agreed, and we will get couples counseling as well. That you all for your advice. You all made me feel less lonely in all of this. Okay, next story. My 35M wife, 29F, came out to me as a lesbian yesterday, and I'm shattered. We've been together for 10 years, married for 4. She is the love of my life, and the thought of living life without her is unbearable. Yesterday morning I woke up, noticed her sitting on the patio crying, so I obviously went to go console her and figure out what was wrong. While fighting back tears, she manages to tell me that she's a lesbian and she's so sorry she isn't attracted to me anymore. But she also doesn't want to leave me. I've always known she was into women as well, but it was never an issue for me. We've had quite a few threesomes with different women over the years, and they've all been amazing. I've even been fine with her exploring that side of herself with other women without me. I just wanted her to be happy and fulfilled. The entire day was spent either crying or talking about our now uncertain future. All the plans we had made about buying a home, travel, getting dogs and cats, retirement, went up in smoke. We had a fantastic sex life up until just a few days ago. We would have sex at least a few times a week, and we rarely failed to get each other off. We experimented and grew with each other over the years, exploring new kinks and figuring out new ways to please one another. I told her I didn't blame her, that if she really is a lesbian, it's not her fault, and she hasn't really done anything wrong. But it doesn't make it hurt any less. She's my best friend. We have such a wonderful, supportive relationship, and we've been through so fucking much together, I can't stand the thought of losing her and starting over. She said she doesn't want to leave me, that she still wants a future with me, just without the sex. But she also understands how unfair that is to me, so she's fine with me finding a fuck buddy or two if I wanted. All I really want is her, though. I'm so insanely attracted to her, and I make sure to tell her so every day. She's the sexiest woman in the world to me, but finding out that attraction is one-sided has obviously shattered my heart and crippled my self-esteem. I don't know what to do. I'm certain most of the comments I get will be along the lines of move on, or the classic lawyer up, start hitting the gym, but I don't know if I'm strong enough to do that. I'm praying she's going to wake up and realize she made a mistake, that she's just overwhelmed and confused. Deep down, I know that's not how this works. But the wounds are still so fresh, I'm grasping at any little straws of hope I can find. We don't have any kids, all our pets have passed away, but we did just move into a new house last week, so we may be stuck together until next March at least. I just want my wife back. Update 1. Hola, Reddit. Long time no talk. I figured it was about time to update y'all on the roller coaster that has been the last year of my life. Allow me to start with a few apologies. Sorry for the jumbled mess that was my original post. I was a mess at that time. And apologies to everyone that reached out that I didn't get back to. There were a lot of you, and it became too much to continue replying with the same answers over and over. I appreciate every one of you that reached out with kind words and those that shared their similar experiences. 1 year ago today, I woke up and got out of bed blissfully unaware of the fact that my life was about to completely crumble around me. That morning, I found my wife on our back patio, clearly in distress. So obviously, I put on my best husband hat and went to figure out what the issue was. I assumed it was something work-related, but I was very wrong. While fighting back tears, she manages to tell me that she's a lesbian, and she's so very sorry. I'll never forget the feeling of the world closing in on me as the most intense fear, panic, confusion, and grief began to set in. Initially, she said she wasn't going to leave me, that we could do couples therapy and figure out a path forward together. Of course, I agreed. 3 days after receiving that news, I was informed by my mother that my stepdad was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. 3 days after that, I was told by my father that my stepmom was also diagnosed with skin cancer. Thankfully, my stepmom had surgery and is cancer-free. But my stepdad wasn't as fortunate. He passed away last November. He was a wonderful, funny, kind, successful, and impressive man, and I miss him a lot. Having all of these things hit me within a week caused me to completely spiral out of control. I refrained from going to work. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I merely existed. I became one with my couch and distracted myself with hockey podcasts and weed. My wife did her best to be there for me, but she was obviously going through her own turmoil, and she retreated into her own world, physically and emotionally. For a bit of backstory, she had spent her life with crippling anxiety, and the mere thought of a tough conversation was enough to cause her to break down crying. But months prior to all this, she had begun taking anti-anxiety meds, so now she was finally able to communicate to me not only that she was gay, but all the other times I had let her down. 10 years worth of moments I had been inconsiderate or insufficient as a partner. I always thought we had communicated well, but apparently that was more one-sided. And I had always thought I did a wonderful job as a husband. I tried to be attentive, thoughtful, caring, and compassionate. I was never abusive or cheated. We rarely fought, and when we did, we always ended up talking it out like adults. I thought I was doing a great job, but I wasn't doing the things she needed out of a partner. But since she never communicated it to me, how was I to know? Hearing about all these little moments that I had let her down hurt like hell, but it also gave me a light at the end of the tunnel, a mission: save marriage. I couldn't do anything about her being gay, but I could damn sure make up for every instance of neglect. I put together a plan to prove to her I was worth staying with. I surprised her with a picnic, got us tickets to the circus, made a reservation at a restaurant for the first time in my life, and took her for her favorite kind of food. I begun learning French. She's French-Canadian. I took the lead on planning our next big vacation. I started writing her a song. I was going to give her guitar lessons since she had expressed interest in the past. I spent every minute of every day for the next 2 months figuring out ways to show her just how much she meant to me. She was also able to confess that she wanted children. We had agreed early on that kids weren't on the table, but she had a change of heart. And for her, I would have absolutely done it, and I told her so numerous times. In May, she left the country for a girls' trip to the Dominican. It had been planned for at least a year. We agreed to go minimal contact during the week-long trip so she could get her head straight and really figure out what she wanted. We actually hooked up the day before she left, and it was the first time in 2 months I felt like everything was actually going to be okay. But the day she came home, she officially ended our marriage. Now, one of the toughest parts of this situation was, we had just moved into a big new house with a few roommates on March 1st. Neither of us could afford to have her just move out right away. It would have screwed ourselves and our roomies over financially. We live in Vancouver and it's bloody expensive here. So we figured out a system of sharing the room. There were even times where we would still share the bed, but it eventually became too painful. So I renovated the large shed in our backyard with a futon, air conditioning, and a TV, and basically lived in it all summer. She began dating someone, so as time went on, she was gone more and more until she had basically moved out but continued to pay rent. During these months, so many people close to me went through tragedies too. One of my closest friends lost his mom to cancer. A good friend from high school lost his wife to cancer too. I had known her through work and got to see them begin their relationship, get married, and have a beautiful daughter only for it to end so unbelievably tragically. And mere weeks before my stepdad's passing, my stepsister's longtime partner chose to end his life. The amount of grief I felt for myself and those close to me was unbearable, unfathomable. So much loss in such a short period of time. Every day for months I thought about ending it all, but kept going mostly because I couldn't do that to my parents. For all the bad that took place, there was actually some good. I quit my toxic but well-paying job in May due to being so overwhelmed and their lack of sympathy towards my situation. And that led me to find an absolute dream job a few months later. Now I work as the quality control guy for a large music retailer's guitar department. I get to play, test, and fix guitars every day, and it's a dream come true. A few buddies and I entered a radio contest last summer and actually won it. We improvised a 30-second commercial, submitted it, and out of 80-plus entries, we won $10K and nationwide play. My ex-wife actually saw our commercial play on the big screen before a movie once. I started a stupid YT channel with a good friend doing dumb reaction videos. It's not even remotely successful yet, but it's a fun outlet. The Christmas prior to my wife coming out, she had bought me the Blu-ray box set of the entire Dragon Ball Z series. And somehow we managed to watch all of it, before, during, and after the split. I'm quite proud of that for us. And finally, last November, I met someone really special. She was also out of a long-term marriage, and they had split for pretty much the same reason. We've been officially dating since New Year's Day. She's absolutely wonderful, beautiful, intelligent, successful, and an insanely talented artist. She's inspired me to start painting, and I've inspired her to take up guitar. We've been helping each other heal and enjoy life again. My ex and I are on good terms. We still care about one another and only want the best for each other. She was there when we saw my stepdad for the last time. She and my mom are still friendly, which honestly makes me really happy. And she officially moved out on March 1st of this year. It's been a wild ride, from breaking down and bawling my eyes out 10 times a day to where I am now, with the best job I've ever had and a fun, promising new relationship. I truly didn't think I'd make it through, but I have. How do you like these stories? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.